Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. I am Ibrahim Yusuf, your host for today. Now, on today's show, we'll be exploring some of the most pressing issues in the world of politics, policy and governance. Now, from the latest updates on Nigeria's upcoming elections to the challenges facing the country's economy, we'll be covering it all. And joining me to discuss these issues and so much more, I have in the studio Mr. Kende Amadu, an editor as well as Trust TV's in-house analyst, and Mr. Malachi Uzondu. He also joins us in the studio. He is an editor at the Authority newspaper. Gentlemen, you're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So we start with tidbits tonight. So first of all, the chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, has stated that the commission will recover from attacks on its facilities and conduct the 2023 elections. Now, Yakubu, who made the remark on Friday while making a submission before the House Ad Hoc Committee investigating the attacks on the Commission's facilities, however, cautioned that the attacks must stop. He said the Commission had witnessed 50 incidents in 15 states since 2019. And according to him, there were 8 attacks in 2019, 22 in 2020, and 12 in 2021, while 8 had been recorded this year. Moving on from that, the Kaduna State Governor, also Nasir El-Rufai, has raised concern on how tackling the challenge of fuel subsidy and foreign exchange to reposition Nigeria's economy may cost Nigeria's next president a second term. Now, El-Rufai expressed this concern during a panel discussion at the launch of the World Bank Nigeria Development Update and Country Economic Memorandum on Thursday in Abuja. According to him, Nigeria needs such a leader that could rise beyond consideration of office and take painful but necessary decisions to ensure the country develop its economy. El-Rufai noted that the right policies and decisions will remove the word potential from Nigeria's vocabulary, and Nigeria will finally be the country we deserve it to be. Now, that's for the tidbits on Daily Politics today. We'll take a short break right now, and when we return, we will take a look at the issues of the day. Do stay with us.
Now, as part of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening...
Now, looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130.
Created a Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secure are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the...
Already, if you look at England squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at...
Welcome back to Daily Politics on Trust TV. Now it's time for us to take a deeper dive into some of these issues that we've actually looked at before we went on that break. Now, gentlemen, we touched on a couple of issues. First of all, we looked at the attack on INEC facilities and INEC offices in different parts of the country. And some of them are actually been relocated for security reasons and all that. What do you make of that, with what's on the horizon now with 2023 elections coming? Sekendi.
Well, the first thing to note is that this is election period. Okay. There are many vested interests. There are people that don't want the elections to hold. And I'm not talking about agitators. I'm talking about politicians that are more comfortable with the elections not holding, and other interests that believe that creating panic and creating tension in the polity will best serve them. So that's the perspective with which I look at the attacks on INEC facilities. Okay. It's very easy to, blame agitators and say that the reasons why there are attacks on INEC facilities is because of the agitators. But you also realize that this period of time is when there will be collection of PVCs.
Exactly.
And the whole issue of PVCs, if you know from this period of time the number of PVCs that will be collected, you can accurately project who will win the 2023 elections.
Okay.
Because without a PVC, you can't vote.
Yes.
And INEC has insisted that there is no process that will be circumvented. So if you can't vote without a PVC and your particular area is losing PVCs in attacks on facilities, then you know what is happening. So everything goes beyond the surface. I believe that there is a deeper intention behind the attacks on INEC facilities, and it is incumbent on government to find a solution to these attacks before we hit the final 3 months. And we're almost there.
We're almost there. That is the concern now. That is the question, Mr. Malachi. So how gloomy a picture does this paint for the 2023 elections?
Well, what is happening is very unfortunate. It's unfortunate because some politicians have been expressing high level of desperation in their quest to control political power. Unfortunately, since 1999, I have not seen that level of patriotism on the part of politicians. Everything that we hear about them is violence upon violence upon violence, all kinds of mischief within the system. On the other hand, I would also blame squarely the security agencies. I recall about 35 years ago or so, when I started as a rookie reporter, the Nigerian security agencies were more proactive. They are not this kind of lame duck reactionary security agencies that we have. What should have happened in those times was that they would have had top-notch intelligence and nipped most of those things in the bud. And at every opportunity that I have, I've always blamed it on the hierarchy of the security agencies, including the military, including the police, the SSS. I have never heard that any DPO was sacked for the dereliction of duty, or any commissioner of police relieved of his duty, except we begin to do that. Why should you, for instance, dismiss a civil servant? And then those who wear uniforms, you don't punish them. The much you do is to transfer them. So because they are lacking in their duty, and because politicians have become desperate, it has introduced this kind of foul air into the political system, which unfortunately has fouled and messed up the entire thing.
All right, so we'll touch on the issue of accountability, which you've just brought up right now. But still, it brings me back to my initial question. If we continue on this trajectory, because there have been fears, a lot of fears, that elections might not hold in some quarters. If we continue on this trajectory, do you think that might be a reality?
If our security agencies are realistic, elections will hold everywhere. Why not, if not? What are they paid to do? It will be most unfortunate if there is any part of this country where elections cannot hold. What it means is that some people have failed in their performing their duties, and they should be held accountable. Somebody is paid to perform a duty, for goodness sake. Why should that person fail? If you have a reporter working here and he fails to perform his assignments, do you spare him? The answer is no. So why should security agencies not live up to expectations in their own assignments? If they perform what they are supposed to do, the politicians will not become desperate. It is because if you look at the entire political system that we have, there is no punishment for misdemeanor. People violate rules regularly. People go carry ballot papers. People snatch, balloting materials, get them torn. People go to people's houses, scare them. Even today, a candidate of one of the political parties was murdered in Imo State. That matter ends there. The ones that were murdered previously, nothing is done. No security agency agent is queried for not performing his duty. It is their duty. The primary responsibility of government is to secure lives and property. Property includes INEC assets. And now that we are coming to elections, INEC assets have become premium in terms of the listing, in terms of hierarchy of listing of public assets. So they cannot tell us that they have failed in their duty. That is the way I see it. So it is not giving us any good image. It is not good for the progress and interest of this country. We have to advise ourselves, and people that ought to perform their duties must sit up and perform those duties. All
right. So it doesn't look good. Mr. Kendi, I can see you nodding to some of the points they actually made. Do you agree with that point?
Yeah, I do agree. If government's duty is protection of lives and property of the people, and it cannot protect its own property, then there's something wrong. And the reason why we have situations like this is that over and over again you hear of these attacks, you hear of these anomalies, and somebody will come and explain it away. You don't even hear of, perhaps when he's explaining it away, that specific steps have been taken to investigate. All you just hear is that is under investigation. And after 2-3 weeks, everything just goes cold. And if, that's why the issue of an electoral offences tribunal is key. Because if you have a special tribunal that is set up, in Nigeria, if you don't have special, yes, you can talk about it being duplication. But if you don't have these special arrangements, these special tribunals, special courts, you find out that, you understand, not much preference is given to it. Because already the casebooks of the judges are already full. You must, if Nigerians see that electoral offenses are an important thing, and they are an important thing because elections produce the next leaders. People that circumvent the process should not be allowed to get away with it.
All right, Mr. Malachi, when we started, we talked about the attacks and what might be the underlying cause for this, and we actually named some. You brought up the issue of the politicians now who don't have an agenda, and don't want the elections to actually continue. So in a situation like this, are we saying that politicians have so much power that they can be able to influence issues like this, like when elections are carried out, or even if they are carried out or not?
Yes. In fact, they carry the yam and the knife. So whomsoever they want, they can give it to.
Okay.
And I want to give you an example. The CBN brought up the issue of Naira redesign and maximum limit. I'm not complaining. I'm sure you are not complaining. The politicians at the National Assembly are making a lot of noise. Some of them even want to hold 5 million as their maximum. So it tells you what they want to do. Why can't they do transfer? Why must you carry money? Some of them will tell you there are people that are not bankable or that are not banked. Those who are not banked are not complaining. Because they are not banked, how much do they have? Somebody goes to POS in my village to collect 500 naira or 1,000 naira. In my local government, for instance, there is no bank there. Has anybody complained? Politicians are there. We have members representing us at the House of Assembly. They can only complain now that CBN has brought up something. They are not complaining that we don't have a single bank in Ezagu local government of Enugu State, where I come from, for years. So those are the things. They hold the yam and the knife. And because of that, there is no measure of performance in Nigerian politics. As a matter of fact, since 1999, you remember what Obasanjo told us? He says, do or die. And they have continued in that trajectory up to today. It is unfortunate. A political party goes on rally, you go and scatter their campaign, kill people, and nobody is arrested. Nothing is done. Politicians buy arms and ammunition, armed thugs. At the end of the day, they run away with it. They scatter voting arena and go away with it. Some people, it might interest you, went and used ordinary passport photographs to register people in Omuma local government of Imo State. Up to today, nobody has. In fact, all that INEC is telling us is that those people are under investigation. For how long, for goodness sake, will they continue to investigate something that is obvious? Because it's a matter of you giving out your password to somebody or you perfecting that particular anomaly. Should it take up to 24 hours if we are serious to get those people indicted and then take appropriate action? Now it tells you who are the ones remote controlling INEC that they cannot come up with a decision. It's politicians. Because politicians perfected those anomalies. Those are the problems. Who are the ones buying a voter's card? Who are the ones burying voters' cards? We've seen the video, circulating all over the places. Politicians. Even as we speak now, people have been going to Amak in FCT to collect their voting card. They are not getting it.
All right. So that's quite a valid point that you made. So now let's move on to the next issue now that we actually talked about. The Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai raised a couple of issues. Now he said these concerns right now that if the issue of subsidy and the correct foreign exchange policy are not implemented in the Nigerian economy, it might be very difficult for the next president coming to get a second term. Do you subscribe to that?
Well, the Kaduna State governor has always been on the side of the Bretton Woods Institute.
Okay.
And the Bretton Woods Institute believes in market forces, demand and supply.
Exactly.
What has stopped? That's the question that one should ask. Beyond the whole idea of the presidential candidates have come with now that subsidy is unsustainable. Of course, we knew subsidy was unsustainable as far back as 2015, 2011. So what has stopped governments of Nigeria from removing subsidy since 2011?
Could it be fear of maybe?
Because the government knows that the majority of people in the country live below the poverty line. And so if you remove subsidy that runs, and there's a very simple way of doing this. If you want to remove the subsidy, put in place an effective transportation system, put in place an effective alternate fuel system, energy system. Now, as we speak, kerosene is priced completely out of the reach of the ordinary Nigerian. Gas is going up. People have resorted to firewood. That's the alternative that they have. Now, if you increase the price of fuel, and I've heard all sorts of ridiculous arguments, that trucks that bring food produce from the villages are fueled by diesel. Do you believe that? How many cars run on diesel? Isn't fuel the most accessible fuel, even petrol, the most accessible fuel to all Nigerians? So, if you take out the subsidy, the guys that use 4 or 5 cars will not be affected. It is the ordinary citizen that has to get from point A to B that will pay for the fuel, the increase in fuel. It is the farmer that has to get his goods from the villages down here.
But I think that's the main argument of the proponents of keeping the subsidy regime, that if the subsidy is removed, fuel price will go up, and then these people that you're actually mentioning will suffer.
Yes, that is the argument. But what I am saying is that you don't put the cart before the horse, and that is what the NLC has argued consistently. You want to increase the fuel, we don't have anything against it. but put in place a transportation system that will help the people to cope with the increase. Because if you have if you go to, for instance, countries abroad, you have effective transportation system. You jump onto the trains, you understand, you jump onto the buses, and you get to where you are going. You don't have to take your car to the city. But if you, in Nigeria, it's the buses and the cars that run on petrol, that are there. And so how do you work this out? I don't know if I'm making sense.
I also have a slightly different view about it. I believe strongly that in the Western world and Europe, where things, seem to be working well, they don't import fuel. They have their refineries working. And I've been told, although I don't have the facts, but I believe that information to be true, that some Nigerians have cited refineries in Niger. Some have cited refineries in South Africa. Nigerians, I mean, not government of Nigeria, individuals. And some of them are bringing these fuels from there. So in as much as we have a government that continues to patronize the corruption in the nation's oil sector, so long shall we continue to have spiraling prices of petroleum and the allied products. It is a shame that we have 3 refineries. They tell us that some of them are producing at a very low level. Where do they sell the fuel? Where? Because if it is so, definitely those ones that are refined, either at Port Harcourt or Warri, or maybe in Kaduna, should be cheaper than the imported ones. So where are they selling it? What it means is that the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is patronizing corruption in the oil sector. Secondly, if you go to those advanced countries, the issue that you have about pollution in the oil producing areas don't happen there. How can you come? For instance, you find people that they have stolen our crude oil. You go and set the entire environment ablaze. Why not arrest them and then recoup that? It's like the ship that they set on ablaze, destroying evidence. It tells you that there is high level of corruption within the system. And that is the only thing. It is only when we curb that corruption that the issue of subsidy. That's why I disagree with Governor Rufai. How can he say that if we continue with subsidy or whatever, that the next administration will not succeed, to be re-elected? Who tells him he has only 1 vote? He has only 1 vote. So let him not bring those ideas where Nigerians, the only thing we are begging them and his likes is that they should be honest and transparent about the way they follow the political system. Was he not minister in FCT? We know his antecedents. Is he not the person that wrote Accidental Civil Servant? We know what he wrote there. So let us not go into there. He is not, I don't think he's competent to tell us about who will succeed who. In terms of the way they run the operations. All of them that are in the political system should please fear God and try to be reasonably honest in the way they operate the total
talking about honesty and competence now, he made a few more points to buttress his own fact. He said Nigeria actually needs somebody who is willing to make the tough decisions, to actually remove the sentiment of, okay, I want to get re-elected, and make the tough decisions for the nation to move forward. I'm going to ask you to speculate now. Within the Nigerian political landscape that we're looking at right now, are we ready for someone like that?
For someone to make the tough
decisions, yes. Because we've just talked about the need for these decisions to be made.
Let me just say that when you are talking about somebody to make the tough decisions, it may not be realistic. Malaki and I served in the State House. The one thing that we know is that immediately a president becomes president, he is captured by the system. He's captured by protocol. He's captured by security. And then he's captured by that inner circle those are the people that dictate what happens.
So it doesn't rest on one man.
It doesn't rest on one person. So when the president comes, the first thing they will do is that you go through orientation about what protocol is. There are certain actions you should not take. There are certain words you should not say. When the president comes, is captured by security, he can't go to the street again now, ask the ordinary man, how are you?
Okay.
He relies on Fed reports, on security reports,
that's
so
the
to
system,
speak.
and that's the system.
That is the system.
Okay.
You understand? So what we should be talking about is a person that is able to create around him a team.
Okay.
Not only him, a team that will drive the system. And then don't forget, is the president at the federal. There are 36 state governors that will work against whatever policies don't favor them.
Exactly.
And we've seen it repeated time and time again. During the regime of President Jonathan, he had a running battle with state governors who said the excess crude oil account actually belongs to them and they don't want to save for the rainy day.
Exactly.
So, what do you want to say? So those are all the factors that surround. So he himself is not being honest to the letter. To understand, yeah, maybe he's talking from the perspective of the state as a state governor, where the states are emperors in their own right. But when you come to the center, you have to sit down and adapt to the system in the center.
Okay, but still, going back to the question, are Nigerians ready for us to be able to for someone or for some group of people to make those tough decisions, for us to get a president that can actually have these qualities that you talked about and make those tough and right decisions?
We'll know when we go to the polls. Because if we still have out of 200 million Nigerians, and then how many of votable age? If we still have 12 to 15 million voters, then we're not ready.
If I can just come in there. If you feel the pulse of the ordinary people who are in the majority, you see that they are ready.
Okay.
They have never been the problem that we have been encountering.
Okay.
The number of people that went out to register to vote will tell you that they are ready. The number of people that are telling you that, that are complaining about the hardship in the country will tell you that they are ready. They know it's not going to be a tea party, because there is a lot of mess in cleaning up the entire system. If you come to your house and they want to clean up your room, in fact, you have to turn everything upside down to do a thorough cleanup. So they know. If you go to the INEC offices now and see the number of people that are queuing up, unfortunately, they are not getting their PVCs, you will see that they are ready. Yet, they are undeterred. They are coming back to say, look, give us this, our PVCs, we want to exercise our franchise. And the reason is because INEC has promised, based on what they have seen in Osun and Ekiti, and reasonably to some extent even in Anambra, that beavers, there is a reasonable level of electoral credibility. So people now want to cast their votes, believing that their votes will count. If it were in the old order, people will tell you, well, they will just go and write the results, and it ends there. That's why the security agencies must be up their games. At the end of the day, the Electoral Act says you do accreditation with beavers, you still have to do manual collation. Yes, you've remitted this thing, but the law says you must do the other one. What if the thugs come and tears the result sheets? That's another question. So if the security agencies are not ready and willing to perform their duties, we will still go back to square one. I can assure you that the ordinary Nigerian, go to Wuse Market, you will see barrel pushers. They are telling you that they are fed up with what is happening. And I thank God that we have reasonably entrenched political system in this country. So people are ready. I believe that they are ready.
All right. Oh, well, people are ready, according to Malachi right here in the studio. Well, we'll take a short break now, and when we return, we'll continue the discussion on whether Nigerians are ready to actually get or go through these tough decisions that need to be made for the country. Do stay with us.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. Ask whether it will promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dsspr@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Daily Politics on Trust TV. I'll do well to follow the conversation across all our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and of course watch us live on YouTube. Now, before we went on the break, we were actually talking about the readiness or otherwise of Nigerians to actually face the results or consequences of the tough decisions that need to be made. Mr. Kennedy, do you have what are your thoughts on that?
You know, like I've said, it's people coming out to vote that will determine. And I say this because in previous elections, we've seen people on voting day playing football in their homes. And really, it's not how many people went to register, but how many people collected their PVCs. Very important. How many people the system allowed to collect their PVCs, because that's another issue altogether. And then after collecting their PVCs, how many people will turn out to vote? Because it's a process that you have to sacrifice your time for. If you are really bent on changing things around. Because everybody agrees that this is not the ideal situation.
Change must be made.
Change must be made, and not that change we had before. Real change.
All right. Mr. Malika, any final thoughts before we move on from this particular subject?
Yeah, you know, the areas that I'm expressing some worry are from two perspectives once again. Number one is that the political parties who are begging for our votes are not doing enough in terms of political enlightenment.
Okay.
They are not doing that at all. They are the ones that should be begging people to come and cast their ballot, because the parties are the greatest beneficiaries of those ballots that are cast. Number two is that the two other political parties are afraid that certain things might happen, that the emerging political parties might take away power from them. And so in that level of uncertainty, they are not doing what they are doing, what they used to do before. However, if the parties could spend the amount of money that they are spending mobilizing people to come to their political rallies, that thing is a bunker, is a deception. Because you find presidential aspirants coming to a political rally and you see millions upon millions of people. When it is time to vote, the same person that they mobilize all those millions for will get just a few thousands of votes. Which tells you that there is no direct correlation between the number that appears at political rallies and the ones that come out to vote for the same candidate. It's a different ball game altogether. But I think the political parties should begin to do political enlightenment. They feel it is the duty of INEC. It's not. INEC is there as just the umpire, electoral umpire. They blow the whistle. It is the political parties that should be taking people. But unfortunately, the two political parties that have muzzle, the old other political parties, they are so afraid that they feel that the new emerging political parties will snatch this power from them. And that's why, from a subtle manner, they are trying to torpedo the entire system. They are the ones fouling the system, I can assure you.
All right. Well, very interesting perspectives there to come in. Well, the basic thing is that the politicians need to do more. All right. Well, let's move slightly away from that now and talk about something that actually is emerging, a developing story. Now, the Osun State Governor, Ademola Adeleke, on Thursday said his predecessor, Adegboyega Oyetola, left 407.32 billion naira as debt, and also increased the state debt profile after losing the governorship election. Now this, according to him, is contrary to claims by his predecessor that he did not borrow a dime throughout his 4-year tenure, and Adeleke disclosed this while delivering an address at a meeting with the Osun State traditional rulers in Osogbo, the capital of the state. The governor, who backed up the disclosure with the document said to have emanated from the state's accountant general, expressed dismay that Oyetola allegedly got a federal government bridge finance facility of 18.04 billion naira, adding that a large portion of the loan was taken after July 16, 2022, that's after the election which Oyetola lost.
Governor Oyetola must explain how the 331 billion borrowed in the name of Osun State was expended with no obvious infrastructural development to justify this huge debt.
We advised him that there are two sides to a story, there are two sides to a coin, that he shouldn't be distracted. He should focus on the positive side of his achievements. The governor that just left, Governor Oyetola, did his best in all ramifications.
Mr. Governor should never lose focus, irrespective of the distractions that are so obvious.
He has started well by consulting and also telling us what he has met on the ground. This is transparency. That is being accountable.
Nigeria's foremost anti-graft agency has said that it is critically looking at every petition of corruption directed against top Nigerian politicians. The chairman of the EFCC, Abdulrasheed Bawa, stated this during a chat with newsmen at the State House, Abuja, revealing that it has secured 3,615 convictions on financial and cyber crimes across the country between January and December 2022.
The EFCC chairman, however, says the anti-graft body will not invite any of the 18 presidential candidates because of the meanings that will be read into it.
There are a lot of petitions, left, right, center, against almost every politician that is contesting for office. But what are we going to do, at this hour? Do you want us now to invite one presidential candidate to come and make statement? The same media is going to say it's politically what? Motivated. Abi? So we are working behind the scene on all the petitions that we receive that have merit, that are not, politically motivated, and that is why in every command we have what is called petition vetting committee.
But the Commission is encouraging members of public, including the media, to continue to report cases of corruption to the EFCC.
So we are working hand in gloves. This is a very, very serious challenge for the country. The activities of cyber criminals is alarming. It is very dangerous for us, and I am calling on all Nigerians to ensure that they are working with law enforcement agencies towards curtailing this problem. These are issues that we all know, that they are tarnishing our image, they are bringing in illicit funds, and victims out there are crying, losing their pension, losing their valuable assets as well as hard-earned resources.
The over 3,600 convictions secured by the Commission is a testament to its success in tackling issues bordering on financial crimes across the country, and represents, according to the chairman, the highest in terms of convictions ever recorded by the EFCC.
The Accountant General of the Federation was arrested. Out of that fraudulent activities, the EFCC have recovered over 30 billion now, and we're already prosecuting them. So what is there? Tell us, anybody that you know that has done anything, we'll be able to investigate him and we move on.
The Commission will soon auction automobiles.
All right, quite some revelations there from the Ocean issue, and now from the chairman of the EFCC. But so let's take it in order. Now let's look at the issue from Ocean State. Is it the same old story? Because we've seen this kind of script played out before, especially when there's a change of guard from one political party to another, accusations, counter accusations, lots of. Are these facts not easily verifiable? Is it the same old story?
Well, how do I start there? The scenario is a bit dicey to me.
Okay.
First and foremost, yes, there's been a change of guard. The new person coming in will attempt to put across the impression that he's working at a disadvantage because of what he has met in the past.
Okay.
Now, the question to ask is that these monies that are taken as loans, which are tied to projects,
yes.
They're not giving the governor money as loan to put in his pocket and decide on which project he wants to do.
Okay.
They're giving the governor the loans, and many of these loans, because he's saying something about some of the loans landed before June 16, after June 16th.
Yes, after the election was lost.
Without saying how long those loans had been
in the pipeline.
How long they had been processed. And if you look at some of these loans, they have about 2 or 3 years in the pipeline.
I don't think it's that easy to get a loan from
you can't just
these
get
kind of loans.
You get a loan and they just give it to you next week. So it's politics.
Okay.
But the reason why I say it's dicey is that you shouldn't also throw away his submissions.
Okay.
Because, when outgoing governments are going, that's what you call mop-up. So it's dicey for me. But I think that not everything is out there.
Okay.
Some of these things is just
So there's more than meets the eye.
There is more than meets the eye.
Sir, do you know, I was just... why I laughed is that, as a social scientist, I believe that what the governor said has a very simple solution.
Okay.
Very simple. If they are serious and if he is also honest. How do I mean? He met Accountant General of the state. Are they not bookkeeping?
Exactly.
If they are bookkeeping, they will know where every kobo is. I don't think that perhaps the former governor came in there with trailer and then carried all the money, or that they put cash, all those humongous amounts of money in cash and put it there. So the man, whomsoever, I have never seen any governor since 1999 in any banking hall. Therefore, it is accountants that bring this money if it is cash. It's accountants that write the check if it is check. Some other people that are within the accounting system of the state do that. So if the accountant general has provided him facts, so to speak, that are there, then the accountant general should be able to tell him who did what. Secondly, all these politicians have security aids. You see, each time I point at security, and they will think perhaps that there is something wrong with my head. There is nothing wrong with my head. I believe that every security detail should be able to file reports to their principals.
Okay.
So if the former governor, we were told, has become a common criminal, stealing such a humongous amount of money, what did his ADC and the chief detail did? How many reports did they file to their offices to tell them that, look, oh, this man is worse than Anini, that he's stealing money. So if they did not do that, they also should be indicted. So we are looking forward to the governor. And I believe that if they are serious, just like I said in the other one, within 1 week, they should have all the facts. It shouldn't take the accountant general that gave him all the facts more than 24 hours to tell him from where he brought those facts. So they should be able to track it.
Okay.
But you see, the funniest thing is that those guys play a lot of drama.
Yes,
so it boils down to what Kenny was saying.
You'll be laughing throughout.
That's why we're all laughing.
Yes. So what's on your mind?
No, it's drama, like he said.
Exactly.
Because he said it all. You understand? I don't think that when he came in, he sacked the accountant general. So that he inherited the accountant general, who becomes loyal to him as the governor. So some of these things.
Do you know that even if the man drops dead now, it is a matter of bookkeeping.
Exactly.
Somebody else should be able to follow the
So
trail.
basically, all this back and forth is unnecessary because these are things that are easily verifiable.
He knows where the money is. He's just
he's just playing his own drama.
playing his own game.
All right. So now the big question. Is it a coincidence? Is it coincidental that the EFCC is aiming to go after governors now?
No, it's not coincidental. It's a matter of this period.
Okay.
The EFCC is empowered to vet campaign funding.
Okay.
And I think this is actually the year that is taking it serious.
You want us now to invite one
because
president?
if you looked at all the central bank policies that have come on stream, and is actually not in favor of the big political parties.
Okay.
Because if by January 19, as we speak, the maximum withdrawal limit is 20,000 naira per day and 100,000 naira per week, and then for big organizations slightly over that, then how do you trace? How do you move money
without being traced?
Without being traced. And so all these things, I think this period of time should be a very exciting time for the EFCC because it has its eyes, and that's one. The second one is that Nigerians are extremely good petition writers. So everybody will have something against. I think he said in that briefing that there is a petition vetting committee that will look at the veracity of all those petitions and choose the ones that they will go after. And he's also saying that, well, we're going to do it in the background because if we start inviting people now, it's the same media
exactly.
that will say, but it's our job. to keep everybody on their toes. So if he says it's the same media, it means that he's commending us for doing our job.
Media is doing its job. Exactly.
So that it means that he recognizes that the media is also putting a check on him. And he can't just do anything that he likes. He has to operate within the bounds of the law.
All right. So, well, as a final thought now, Mr. Malachi, with all these, with the CBN policy that he talked about and the petition vetting committee that they're actually doing, how do you see the entire process? Does it help the CBN policy? Does it help the anti-corruption fight?
Yes, to a very large extent.
Okay.
I believe so. But the worry that I have is collusion and connivance with the anti-graft agencies. Take, for instance, we are talking about EFCC. The big masquerade is NFIU, Nigeria Financial Intelligence Unit. Didn't they tell us that when you withdraw a particular limit, they will get which is why they introduced what they call SCUMO, even on company accounts. And then they told us that they monitor individual accounts. So if monies disappear or people overspend and they are telling us stories, I will be laughing. Because somebody has a responsibility that is not discharging.
Exactly.
Do you understand? Now, secondly, on the issue of cash limits, I don't understand why the hula baloo about carrying cash. When armed robbers, unemployed people are all over the places as miscreants. Now, if they know you don't have money in your house, because there is no limit to fund transfer.
Exactly.
There is no bill that that you pay for transferring money for embarking on e-payments. No. So why can't we be comfortable with that? Why must we carry money that a pickpocket will? In fact, if I were the central bank, the way they introduced one particular policy, I can't remember right now, that they graded some cities and said they will start, I think it was this online transaction. I will reduce the quantity of money that people will carry in Lagos and Abuja because they are enlightened. I will reduce it to 5,000 naira. What do I need this cash for?
All right.
So that those that are crying, you see, they said if you live in glass houses, you will be afraid of stones.
Exactly.
So those who have mastered the arts of manipulation, because they know that poverty is the biggest weapon that that is there now. So they will need cash to be able to conquer those.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic advice. But unfortunately, time is not on our side right now, and we actually have to go. Kendi Amudu, thank you very much for coming on the show.
You're welcome.
Of course, Malachi Uzondu, thank you very much for coming on the show as
well. It's my pleasure.
All right, so that's a wrap on today's program. Thanks for watching, and do join us again. I am Ibrahim Yusuf.